Good morning and welcome to day 2 of our Circular Materials Conference. It should be all live in Gothenburg at Chalmers, but as you well know, we have shifted online, which brings many advantages in terms of people being able to access sessions, but there is nothing like connecting up personally together. This is day 2 of the conference. Yesterday we had absorbing conversations, learning about so much research, innovation, work that businesses are doing in that journey towards circularity, and particularly focusing on Nordic countries taking a lead in this area. Today is a significant day. Every day is a significant day, but this one particularly because this is Earth Day. You may or may not have realized. And maybe as we start to look at technical details about circularity and all the rest of it, it's good to remind ourselves why we're doing this. And we're doing it because there is a climate and ecological crisis, and our use and the way we process resources and support consumers are at the very heart of the challenge now facing us on this planet. So it is maybe timely just to think we're not just doing this because we can make more money in different ways or whatever, but we're doing this in a response to a real crisis. We hope also today the climate summit in the US is going to reveal some really challenging and important stretch targets around CO2 reductions, and we are the solution. And it's interesting that Earth Day this year is very much around natural systems. It's called Restore Our Earth and is focusing on energy and particularly emerging green technologies. So we are the solutions. And now society is beginning to demand at a scale and pace that they've never demanded before. So part of this conference is very much about seeing how we step up to the plate, because it's great having the targets, but we all have to find the technical and process solutions that allow us to transform at no mean task. But I believe we're up to it. And most excitingly, the Circular Materials Conference demonstrates how Nordic countries are, as a grouping, are really taking the lead in this area. And I, as a facilitator, independent facilitator with a passion for sustainable development, am particularly excited to be part of this journey once again, both to learn and to share some of the amazing activity that is taking place. The full agenda for day 2 is all laid out before you on the portal, so you can see exactly what is going on. But this morning we're going to start with a plenary session with some key speakers on the theme Exploring the Nordic Circular Economy Potential. So we are trying to look at solutions, at ways that we can work more effectively together in order to achieve that potential. And right at the outset, I'm going to invite a double act looking at the Nordic Circular Hotspot and the need for digital circular collaboration platforms. The name of the game is connection. And I'd love to bring in Elin Bergman, from the Cradlenet and Nordic Circular Hotspot, and also Josefina Sallén from RISE, and who's involved in the development of circular economy stakeholder platforms in the Nordics. Both of you are doing connecting work and really trying to reveal that network of exploration and solutions. So without further ado, Elin, I think you're first on. Over to you to share some about that platform work that you're very much involved with. Hi.
Hi, thank you, Peter. And happy Earth Day, everybody. I'm super excited to be here. So my name is Elin Bergman, and I'm going to tell you a bit about Nordic Circular Hotspot and the Nordic Circular Arena that we're developing, which is a collaborative digital platform and a platform overall for circular economy. So I'm going to try to share my screen here. Good. So just a bit first about the background about Nordic Circular Hotspots. We started in 2018, where I met other Nordic stakeholders at Holland Circular Economy Week, arranged by Holland Circular Hotspot. It was a fantastic event. And we in the Nordics didn't have anything similar. And when we went to this fantastic event, we wanted to have a similar hotspot in our countries where businesses, policy, civil society, and academia could meet and really accelerate the transition into a circular economy. There was nothing like it at the time. The most like it in Sweden at the time was Cradlenet, and that's a Swedish membership platform, but very small, driven by enthusiasts, but not a very big platform. So we wanted to make it bigger, make sure we really accelerate the transition into circular economy in the Nordics. So we arranged a group, started talking about this and inviting more and more people. And eventually we got funding from Nordic Innovation to do a stakeholder survey in 2019. And what we found when we asked Nordic circular stakeholders was that they really wanted a platform, a digital platform, but also a platform to be a place where you can share circular innovation, technology, and new business ideas, for knowledge sharing, capacity building, to find companies and people with similar interests and challenges as their own. Of course, for cross-Nordic business collaboration, but also a platform for regional political collaboration. Because at the time, I mean, Finland was way ahead of all the other Nordic countries, and the other countries were not even started or had a strategy for circular economy. But they also needed a platform where you could find circular experts. So this was something really good to know when we went ahead, both creating the Nordic Circular Hotspot and also the digital platform that we're creating now. So now we are a group of managing partners from all of the Nordic countries working with this and creating this organization. And we really started off in September, where we really launched a platform, not a digital platform, but an organization working together. And we are these people. So it's me from Cradlenet that started this from the beginning with Catherine Bart. Josefina Sallén was also part of in the beginning at RISE. And also we have Marika Olaranta from Business Finland. We have Bjarni from Iceland, Circular Solutions. We have Einar Holter, who's also project leading this at Natural State in Norway. We have Harpa in Iceland as well from Testa. We have Isabella and Kim. Kim. This is actually the wrong name. His name is Kim from the Iceland and the same cluster. And we have an outside expert, Peter Michel Heilman from the Netherlands, who was part of starting the Holland Circular Hotspot. So we're all working very hard to launch this platform and get a lot of partners in it. We also arranged this fantastic Nordic Circular Summit in November last year, very high level, very well visited with high level speakers. And we're going to do the same this November, so you're all welcome to join. And it's all about what's the latest things that are happening in circular economy in the Nordics. So please come and join us there. And we're already building this huge network. So we have many stakeholders in the platform already that went to the summit, that want to partner up and so on. So these are just a few of them. So the thing that we're building now is the Nordic Circular Arena, which is a digital platform in a high-bright environment. And we're building everything that they wanted in the stakeholder survey. So we're developing this digital platform that's open and free for everybody. And we really want it to be the go-to place for everything that's happening in circular economy in the Nordics, because we really see there is a need for a collaboration platform. Right now, there's so much happening in the Nordics, especially when it comes to science and research. And we're basically doing the same thing in Finland, Norway, Sweden, Denmark, and Iceland. instead of seeing what's happened in the other countries. How can we build on, scale it up, and so on? So we really need to know, we need to have an overview of what's going on. So this is what we're going to try to create in the Nordic Circular arena. So it's all about network and interaction on this platform. It has a member, director, and profiles. Everybody can register, it's for free. So you can see everybody in your area that's working in the same area as you, or if there's someone else that has the same interest, but they're located in Iceland, you can find them here. We're going to also, of course, have a knowledge sharing platform. So all academia can upload their reports, their science projects. Companies can add their products, their business models, and of course, their services. So we really want to create this marketplace because, I mean, right now in Sweden, we're talking a lot about when it comes to circular markets, Sweden is too small, but together in the Nordics, we can make a bigger market. So for reused products, for instance, so your reused or recycled materials. And it's also a platform to generate data for research, because once it's up and running, you can see what people are discussing and what's trending and what they're not discussing and what they should be discussing. It will also have a jobs and opportunity board, so people can matchmake and find each other and collaborate for projects, for instance. It will also have, of course, discussion groups, so we can talk about what's going on. It will have all the events going on in circular economy in the Nordics, and so on. So it will be a really big platform. It's all about networking and interaction with each other. So collaboration is key. But also, if you want to, we want to gather all the networks already working in circular economy. So when we're launching, we will have at least 4 network partners, which will have their own space where they can have their own closed off discussions and so on. So this is also something we can offer in this platform, because otherwise everybody will develop their own platforms. We want everybody in here. I really wanted to mention that as well. So we're launching on June 15th. Like I said, it's open and free for everybody. And if it's really going to work as a platform for collaboration, we want to invite you in here and upload everything you're working on so everybody can understand and know what you're doing. Because we can't afford to wait very much longer. The Earth, since it's Earth Day, can't wait any longer. So we need to really accelerate the transition, and we think our platform will help do that. And we want to really collaborate with everybody in the Nordics. So hope you will join us. Thank you.
Thank you, Elin. I take this as a handing over to me, because what I'm going to talk a bit about is an example of something that could be plugged in and displayed on your Nordic Circular Hotspot. And we jump now to the other perspective, to a very local region instead. So I'm Josefina Sallén from RISE Sustainable Business, and I'm going to share a short story on how we came to create the circular map for the region of Halland, and what we have learned from doing that, and what we're doing going forward. So the starting point of this project was a project funded by Region Halland in Sweden, west coast of Sweden. Yeah, where we wanted to develop some showcases, some good examples of companies testing circular business models. And at the time, there were not a lot of companies that even knew what circular economy was. They might have heard of it, but not really anything more than that. And a large part of the project was just to engage, spreading the word, explaining what is circular business models, and engaging with SMEs, municipalities, and also the local education sector to take a more active part in this journey. Then if we would have had this amazing Nordic Circular Hotspot, we could have referred a lot of things to that, but it wasn't available at the time. Of course, we did also develop some showcase examples together with engaged companies and municipalities. But in doing this, we also got a question from the region of Halland. They said, which are the circular companies in Halland? Can you do a survey on that? And we said, yes, we can do a survey, but a survey is only valid that month or that week when it's produced, and nobody's going to read it, and nobody's going to really have access to it. So we said that instead we wanted to create something that everybody could access, something that they could get input and inspiration from, and also that they could evolve over time. So we saw that could be a useful tool in this transition. So that's when we came up with the idea of an online map instead. There are online maps before, and there have been, and but not for Sweden, as far as we know, and certainly not for Halland. And our dream, you could say, is that we don't need the map because it's so overcrowded with companies and SMEs working with circular business models. But we're not there yet. So we started out just making like a dummy map of this is in Varberg, a city in Halland, where we did just at a workshop with related to this project, where companies could nominate themselves or others based on some criteria that we had set up. And just based on this thought, we then developed this map together with the team that created something called Smarta Kartan that exists in Gothenburg and now has spread to other cities. And it is directed towards consumers that want to share and different types of products or services. But this Circulära Kartan that we have created, it's intended to inspire companies and make them interested in knowing more about circular economy and also finding others that are doing things. But we learned a lot from working together with the team of Smarta Kartan, and that also made us get a speedy development on this. So I think it is also a good example of how things go faster when you work together and you don't try to do it yourself. So this is really what the map looks like. We don't have any time to go in it online and so on, and you can do it yourself. And I assume some of you are doing it while I'm talking, because that's how it works. So this is what it looks like so far. And one advice that we got, and that goes together with what RISE stands for, is that we chosen to go for quality rather than quantity. We wanted to pick companies that we think are really good examples for one reason or other. Not everybody that is doing something in terms of recycling or whatever we can think of. Here is also what it looks like below. So these are examples. It's a short introduction to companies, and then you can click on and get further information. And a lot of this is not companies, but it's projects that they are doing that are circular. And you don't really find that on their web pages or anything else. So you need this type of information to find these inspirational companies. There are some that have a truly circular business idea, but many companies are testing, and that's also very important to serve as inspiration. Yeah, and I also want to stress that this map is not complete. There are more companies in Halland that qualify to be on the list, or I hope so, and the map has become a way for us also to get to know about these companies, because they contact us and say that they want to be on the list, and then we can start checking. And maybe you notice that some of these companies are not from Halland, and it's slowly growing also outside of Halland. But we take it slowly, because the next step is now to develop further these criteria that we've had. So the criteria that we are basically using is the 3 dimensions of circular economy: longevity, utilization, and then in the end recirculation, and that they strive towards all these 3 dimensions. But also that they need to be inspiring, because that is an important part of this, and that they want and have an ambition and drive themselves. It can't be just that accidentally they went circular, because we think that that's needed in order to to really make things happen. The companies need to be engaged in this. So just the last thing then, the next step is then to populate this map with more showcase examples from all over Sweden, and where we will use our experience so far, and we will develop the criteria further and really get closer to some kind of quality assurance on verified by RISE, because that is what we see can be our contribution to this transition, that we have a type of quality stamp on input, because there is a lot of different approaches, and not all of them are actually circular or sustainable. So, and of course, same as Elin did, I also invite, if you know companies, and I'm sure most of you do, that you think are worthwhile exposing on this map, you don't hesitate to contact me or any of the others on this team of the circular map. And here is also the link to the map if you are interested in looking at this further. So, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Josefina, and also Elin. It's really exciting to see that ecosystem is beginning to develop, and these platforms enabling that to happen. This is going to be very much the future. So we wish you well with those, and everyone connecting in. What's happening at the moment, it strikes me, is that everyone's kind of getting circularity. The devil is in the detail, and it is in the next stages of, so what do we need to do differently? And so often there are reasons not to move forward on circularity. For example, restricted chemicals in products, technological obsolescence. And our next presentation from Jutta Hildenbrand, who's a PhD researcher at RISE in the division Product and Materials, is offering a way of, through the CIRCit program, looking at way of developing closing the loop strategies. So this is more about information, networking and connecting. But Jutta, great to have you with us, and look forward to hearing about how this initiative is going to propel us further forward on that journey to true circularity. Over to you.
Thank you, Peter. I'm going to share my screen. And welcome you all to a presentation about, it's a project, and it's a project that is now sort of terminated. It was running until last year in September when we had our final meeting, but I think it's still worthwhile to present it. And it was a really Nordic project. Here you can see our team, very big team with participants from all 5 Nordic countries, not the regions, but really from Finland to Iceland. That means we had 5 different currencies. So for the admin, this was probably always a bit more effort than we noticed, and it had 3 different time zones. And this includes also still the logo of Sweria, which was the initial applicant from Swedish side, but of course now we are RISE. And the CIRCit consortium worked on, was inspired by the publications that are distributed by the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, and that met a huge interest from countries or industry in the Nordics, because this is what it's all about. Very much the linear economy is still in place with the take, make, consume, disposal approach, and the circular economy, as it is propagated by the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, has really interesting benefits, including new business opportunities estimated at 1.8 trillion per year. That's what's not to like. But the way to get from linear to circular was where we wanted to help companies within the CIRCit project. And here's another quotation from the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. How to get there. And so the CIRCit project from the very start, now I have to move this one, was intended to conceptualize, develop and implement a set of tools and approaches. So from the very start, we wanted to develop tools in an iterative approach together with the companies. And the participating companies, here are only some that were really very much involved. And we also say that these are co-creating companies because they help to develop the tools, where again, from all 5 Nordic countries, Denmark is a bit too small to put the pictures where they belong. So the fabric and the black box for ship are actually in Denmark and not in the UK. Every Nordic countries was involved, not only from research side, but also from industry side. It's very exciting. And it was, of course, also a project that was developed when it was still possible to travel to all Nordic countries. We benefited very much from that, to get in touch with companies and collaborate closely. So the approach had a collaborative idea as a start between researchers in industry to develop the tools and the practical frameworks iteratively and have mutually benefit by providing access to knowledge and experience and providing validation and feedback. We had 6 different focus areas that you can see here, and I will speak about them in a bit, and they all addressed different aspects and questions related to circular economy. Closing the product cycle was one of them. So what is the best circular strategy for end of use and end of life? That was what I worked with in the project mostly. And we also discovered that, of course, we have 6 different focus areas, but they're all interlinked. So we had a lot of collaboration also between our different focus areas. And we, as I said, we have finally launched our workbooks last year in September as sort of the end of this project. And you can still access the website, of course, and can find the workbooks there and can also see them in an online version. You can also download them. And at the website, you can also see examples and cases and tools. And all the tools that we have developed are available via the website. I recommend to go there, obviously, only after this event today. As a backbone of our research, we again had a common model that we have developed together in the project, and we started with the linear economy and how it's built, starting to add value from raw materials to the finished product, and then optimize the value delivery to the user. But this is what happens then. The value after the user is finished with the product, doesn't need it anymore. There's a huge steep value loss, and it can even come to a value destruction additional because you have pollutions. And the approach in a circular economy is then you recapture the value by building up post-use and end-of-use and end-of-life stage, where you reclaim materials and products and also reclaim materials from the supply chain between the suppliers. And that's what CIRCit is all about. So this is our pyramid that we have based ourselves on, and we developed this scanner tool that we used in all our projects, in all focus areas, to do an initial mapping. What do companies already do, and where do we find that they have gaps, and where can we not populate this map that we brought to all companies as a huge this was printed out. As I said, we visited companies in real life, but we have also developed an online version of this after that. So this was populated with post-its and with ideas, and we found that there's a lot of creativity that can be unlocked in the Nordic industries, and that can be located on this scanner. Now the 6 focus areas, in short. Sustainability screening was an important part because we wanted to show that circularity can be sustainable, but that you really also need to evaluate that. That was based on doctoral studies and doctoral thesis, where our colleague in Denmark looked into a database of leading KPIs and sorted them, mapped them towards on the circular economy dimension, the business process dimension, also the sustainability dimension, and developed also a procedure to select KPIs that can help to identify which KPIs are relevant, and also to use them for evaluating the sustainability of circular approaches. Quite exciting. The circular business models received the most attention. Probably the 1.8 trillion euros where was a huge incentive for companies to start, and business models are the way to unlock this. Here, a lot of tools are developed. I can again recommend to go to the CIRCit Nord webpage to see that further. And here we also had a lot of examples from outside of the CIRCit project that could be used to explain how circular business models work and what are the skills and knowledge to operate products. Are they core of the customers or not? Then let's outsource that and let's give that to the people who develop the product. Really an interesting area. And the circular product design was based on eco-design tools and further developed from that. So this is really heavy industrial design with a planning to production ramp up stage. And all the tools that are available here have been tested with companies and have been tweaked to include circularity, because that was not necessarily the case when they were first developed. There is, again, you can see the scanner. That was our initial tool to get started, but there's much more, and I can refer to the workbooks if you're interested in this. And there's Excel tools and guidelines also on the webpage. So the digitization, this is from our Norwegian colleague who's a computer science expert, and he prefers to say digitization instead of digitalization. And this maybe already give you a hint that this is a bit more of an emerging topic. Here I cannot show you tools, but they developed a smart circular economy framework where they discovered and explored the nature of data flows and the nature of data transformation levels from connected resources to wisdom. So what type of data can we collect, and how can they be used? They have applied that in maintenance situations to monitor the state of assets. It's also possible to apply that for tracing the flows of materials and goods that are out there. My task was the closing the loop, so the material reclaiming and also the product reclaiming, but that's one of the new parts in circular economy, that instead of reclaiming materials in recycling, it's also possible to do more reuse, remanufacturing, refurbish. And we noticed that all the topics that are relevant are not used in a very congruent way, and it's used differently. Terms are used differently in different industries. So helping industries to just find out what is the difference between reuse and refurbish and remanufacture and all that was one of the tasks that we went through here for end of use and end of life products. And it's, even if you've done a lot of circular design, product design in the beginning, you might end up with something that still needs a lot of effort. So looking into the feasibility of technical process and viability was an important part, looking how the organization around that has to be created. And what also was a special request that we noticed during the work, looking at the legal and compliance part. So if you find a very nice idea to recirculate a product, are you allowed to do it and according to legal requirements? It's not always the case. There's a decision tree developed based on that. Okay, there's one more focus area: design and development of circular value chains. And that has to do again with the collaboration between the different players and actors along the value chain, and the approach to make them more circular, starting from a linear value chain. So this again started with the circular strategy scanner and had a lot of work. Again, a lot of post-its were used to create and map the opportunities and the value captured. For more information, I can again refer to the CIRCit Nord webpage. There's access to workbox, case examples and tools and much more. And if you would like to have a printed copy of the workbox, I still have some. So you can send me an email, and I don't have hundreds. So first come, first serve will be the principle that we use here. Thank you very much.
Jutta, thank you very much. A very interesting project, and we hope some of the learning and ideas from that are going to be carried forward into practice. Always one of the challenge of research or pilot projects is that next stage of some of that learning really being part of the engine of change moving forward. It's maybe a timely reminder that in 2015, the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development was adopted by the UN member states, 17 Sustainable Development Goals, which provide a very elegant and powerful framework for us all to think about our activities that ensure the prospering of people on the planet. And they've been used very much as frameworks to support and encourage as a vision and action plan in many aspects of circularity. Our next speaker is Guro Husby, and he's Communications Director in Norsirk, which is an extended sorry, I may have been, was I on mute? Oh dear, oh dear, my entire introduction has been lost. So I will briefly say UN Sustainable Development Goals 2030 agenda, very exciting agenda. And how can we as companies create value from connecting into those Sustainable Development Goals? And Guro Husby, who's Communications Director in Norsirk, an EPR company, I think in Norway, very much involved in batteries and packaging. Guro, you're using the Sustainable Development Goals as a framework to help fire up and encourage business activity in this arena. So without further ado, I'll pass straight over to you to hear how you are using those goals in a productive fashion.
Thank you. I'll start by sharing my screen here so that you can see my presentation. To give you an overview or receipt of how to work with the SGs in 10 minutes. That's some consultants are taking a lot of money to do that job, but I'll try to do my best. So Norsirk is an EPR company, and we have a lot of customers, the producers of electric products, batteries and packaging. And as we all know, they have maybe not been the best ones to actually take the SGs seriously and work with them in a good way. We are using at least way too much electronics, and we are using them and throwing them away way too fast. So there is a job to do there to make also the producers take the SGs seriously. And that's what I'm going to try to show you. I'm going to, in the end, give you a tool that is very, very easy actually to use so that you can take it with you and work with your own company or with your customers in a good way and be better on delivering on the SGs. So first of all, I think it's important to see what the challenges were for Norsirk as a producer company, EPR company, and also what the challenges for the business. It's the same challenge that we see everyone that are involved in recycling, in the consume and all over when it comes to e-waste. The amounts of e-waste is going to be growing tremendously for the next years. We hit 50 million tons last year, and in just 30 years we're going to be hitting 50 million tons, and that is so much that is impossible to to understand how much e-waste and how much waste that actually is. And what is bad in this picture is that 80% of the e-waste is not properly recycled. It's a lot of illegal treatment. It's a lot of illegal shipment to poorer countries. We all know about it. And what can we do about it? It's the fastest growing waste stream in the world. No waste stream grows faster than e-waste. And not last but least, there's a lot of elements and metals and minerals in e-waste that are scarce. It's difficult to get a hold of all the metals and rare earths that we are needing to use in the new products that are going to be helping us to create or to beat the climate change that we're actually seeing. Batteries are needing a lot of special metals, and the same goes for a lot of other products. So these are the challenges that we face. And okay, how can we work? What does that have to do with the SDGs? One of the main principles in the sustainability goals is that no one should be left out. The most vulnerable people must therefore be given priority. That's one of the sustainability goals that says this. And Norsirk wanted to work with people that were left out at the one side, and at the other side we saw that we had all these challenges. So how could we mix these two together and do and make a difference? So what do we do? We started working with people that can't have a normal job, that maybe are asylum seekers, that are working other places, or don't have a hole in their CVs, or don't speak Norwegian, or maybe they had been in jail, maybe there were other reasons that they didn't get a job. And we saw that putting these people together with the ICT recycling that we're actually doing, and not at least the reuse of ICT equipment, that has made Norsirk, or given us the numbers last year, that we have now a 50% reuse of the total amount of the collected ICT equipment through Norsirk and our partners. Stena Recycling is one of the partners that actually is a part of this. They are not, as far as I know, working with the sustainability goal number 8, but that's what we do. And what we are doing, and with the help of these people that are normally left out or likely to be left out, they help us so that we can reuse more products. Certain parts can be reused. At least we are doing a lot of harvesting of components. That is very important, because there's a lot of lack of science or systems that can take out all the elements that we can, the materials. So instead of doing the materials recycling, we're reusing components instead of, and it's a very good use of, not at least perfect people that we are working together with. So we are having a lot of, these are two of the guys that work with us, and they are doing manually work. It's not maybe time effective, but we are actually making sure that 70, 80 persons have a job to do every day, instead of putting chocolate into small boxes, which was the job they had before. This is in Oslo. In Bodø, we have asylum seekers that need to have something to do while they're waiting for their application to be sold or seen what they can do to do that. We have a lot of, as I said earlier, drug abusers that need a job, and they are doing this a lot, and also a lot of labor that doesn't talk Norwegian. They also work a lot with reuse and harvesting of components through the system. And the producers, they really love what we're doing, and they love to put their products or their e-waste into this system to get to be a part of this project, because it gives so incredibly much back to us as a company and to the companies that are a part of it. And there is the tool that we have to talk about, because this is it. This is how to approach and work with the UN sustainability goals together with your customers or others that you need to or want to work together with. The ownership of this thing is Johan Andresen. Norwegian people know that he is a very rich investor, and he made that one. And we are allowed to, and he has used it a lot in his company in the fighted systems, and we are allowed to use it as long as he's got the copyright on it. And the thing is that when we meet people, when we go out and talk with customers or others, and we show them this line and say, okay, where are you? Where on this line are you today? Are you criminal? Hopefully they're not. Are you irresponsible? Yes, a lot of the customers that we have, actually the producers that we work with, they are actually irresponsible. So that's where they can put themselves on this line. Compliant, then you do all the things that you're supposed to. Responsible. Maybe some of us that are on this conference actually can see that we are responsible. I don't think anyone of us are exemplary or revolutionary when it comes to where on this sustainability line you want to put yourself. So we go out and we talk it through, and we really get the people that we're working with to place themselves on this line, and then start talking about, okay, what can be done to move to the right, because that's the whole point with this one. Move to the right. That's the most important thing, and it works. It's very easy, and please take a picture of it or copy it and use it and put the copyright that it's Fired that owns it. But it really is the very best tool that we have seen and used to start the discussions and see where to go. Compliance is a long step for a lot of people or a lot of businesses, and maybe that's the right place to start when you are discussing where you want to be in comparison to sustainability goals to the United Nations. And 10 minutes goes very fast. I really have no idea, did I use it all or not? But don't hesitate to contact me. And please, if you want to discuss this line and where you are or how to use it, contact me.
Guro, thank you very much. You actually fractionally under time, but that's a great thing. And it's so timely, I think, to bring back the Sustainable Development Goals into our thinking, because they're both really quite exciting and visionary as well as challenging. So very timely to bring that, I think, very much back into everyone's agenda. Frightening thing, in 2015, they seemed a long way off. In 2021, they're getting frighteningly close. But that's the way of the world, isn't it? We are moving very quickly into the future. So moving on, we have two more interventions really to build our thinking and understanding about that driving Nordic circular economy potential. And one of the key ingredients, crucial, is that the whole world of research through to innovation is a crucial nexus, and it's so important that everybody within those institutions are able to connect thoughtfully and effectively into the right research and development work, and then connect into the world of innovation and business development. And I'm delighted this morning we're joined by Amir Rashid, who's a professor at KTH, Royal Institute of Technology. Amir, great to have you with us. And you're really trying at KTH to join the dots, make connections so that there is a coherence in the research and collaborative work that's taking place from institutions. Institutions don't exist for their own benefit. They're there to serve the urgent needs of society. So, Amir, it would be really interesting to hear about work at KTH to really give yourselves an edge and purpose in this arena. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Peter. Thank you for the warm welcome and the introduction details. Thank you very much. You have done half of the job I should have done, actually. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and welcome to this presentation. I would like to start with sharing my screen. So I believe that everyone can see this. And this is basically about a circular economy initiative at KTH. So I will go through how this initiative has evolved since we started it in 2017 with the support of internal KTH management and the financial support from internal funding. And the major drive behind was to put all the forces together and make sure that the synergies are exploited to connect with the research, to connect with the society, industry, and the education. So before I go into the details of the initiative, so I would like to give the perspective on circular economy we started with. So with circular economy, as we are already very well aware of now, that resource scarcity and waste management has been the primary drivers when we started talking about it maybe a few years ago. Then gradually we have also managed to bring on board the discussion on loss in biodiversity, and then of course adding the emissions, so which we call sustainability aspects in circular economy. And last but not least, well, we work in silos. So what is this challenge with that? If we just quickly give a look to the resource scarcity, so we are extracting materials at staggering rate. So looking at this figure, reaching 290 billion ton into 2060, well, that's already beyond the planetary boundaries. If we look at the solid waste, how fast this stream is developing, well, 2050, we are talking about 3.4 billion tons. And that's a staggering rate that very difficult to manage with business as usual. Biodiversity loss, we know now that material extraction and processing is responsible for more than 90% of biodiversity loss. And disappointingly, this loss is actually happening at a much faster rate than we probably understood earlier. The emission situation is even more serious. So we know that it is getting bigger and bigger. By 2060, we will be producing 70 billion tons, not of course sustainable at all. So, and when it comes to work in silos, well, we actually are working with an economic model that is pushing us for produce more, consume more. And this is where the fierce competition for producing more and consuming more is happening. And obviously not in line with the, let's say, objectives and aims of circular economy and sustainability. So if we have to move forward, well, we need to have, for example, an economic model for circular economy with at least these three elements. So produce less, use more. I know that there's a lot of discussion and a lot of ideas on, for example, producing more and using more, for example. Well, we can discuss the differences here. The model has to be rewarding for creativity, of course, but at the same time, it has to see if the creativity is regenerative or not. Well, we have been competing, of course, to, let's say, produce more, consume more, and through the market forces, but we need to compete to collaborate in future. So with this perspective, we actually have been putting the forces together in our environment at KTH, and of course, collaborating beyond KTH. So we started, as I said, in 2017 with the objectives of basic research on circular economy. So the idea was to support research on understanding the value and impact of circular economy, with, of course, these three interacting paradigms of business, environment, and people. Applied research, we wanted to support the industry and the society. So our collaborative research approach is taken to putting the different, let's say, sectors or industry or company specific developments in limelight and collaborating with the researchers on that. Education in CE, of course, one of the most important responsibility as educating institute we have. And the idea is to continue developing with the graduate, postgraduate, and industry professional courses, lifelong learning, and not forgetting to educate the educators. And of course, creating, consolidating, and disseminating the knowledge around circular economy. As we are building it, it's important that we share it as well. So the transition model that we are using through this platform is a connection with industry and society, and of course connecting that part with education and also research and innovation. So these three are actually the basic pillars of our transition model that we use to support. We are achieving these goals through 4 interfaces that are dedicatedly working with, for example, industrial interface. And the main idea with this interface is to connect with industries and actively work to provide support in this transition. Research interface is connecting, of course, internally, all the departments and schools, but beyond that as well, so that we can put all the research together and capitalize on the synergies on the research is basically having in this case. Educational interface, of course, keep developing the courses on circular economy and educating the communities around us. Outreach interface, as I earlier mentioned, so disseminate and share the knowledge as much as we can from all possible channels or through all possible channels. We have been having through industry interface, for example, industry workshops, customized support, and the joint research projects, a few of the collaborating partners or let's say participating partners. So we have been working with. Moving forward, the education interface is working on, as I said earlier, PhD course we are offering for the last 3 years now, continuously. Internal collaboration between, for example, departments and schools, very unique, let's say, way of doing it in the KTH environment across the departments and across the schools, and of course developing master level courses, executive level courses, and not forgetting the education for the educators. So the research interface, we are lucky in the KTH environment, being a huge technical university. We have the possibility to focus on all the important areas that matter in this transition, from at least from our environment. So manufacturing, materials, energy systems, built environment, and digital transformation working together for this transition and further collaboration beyond KTH. Just quick examples that we recently started a project with, for example, Nordic innovations, with the support of Nordic Innovation. And it's a huge, ambitious effort for 2 years to, for example, bring 25 industry partnerships on board with 30 projects and engaging 200 to 300 students. So it's a youth change maker as catalyst for a transition to sustainable circular economy. So very interesting and very ambitious project. We are looking forward to it. It will be running for next 2 years. Another beyond, let's say, what we call Sweden, Nordic, and going to the European level. So we are working in a large-scale demonstrator with a systemic approach, having 13 partners from 8 European countries, and trying to experiment with the circular economy solutions in the industrial environment. So, the outreach interface is very interesting and exciting because we are having monthly webinar series engaging with the global audience. We are members in the, for example, Swedish standardization and ISO for circular economy. and several other platforms. So to reach us, please use this information links. So we are available on web, LinkedIn, and of course through email. Thank you very much.
Amir, thank you very much. It's just great to hear how our wonderful academic education institutions are really now stepping up to the plate in terms of a coherent approach, because there's no doubt as every day, week and month passes, more questions are being asked to which we need the smartest minds bringing us responses. So really exciting to hear that work, and I'm sure that's also going to be something that ripples across inter-institutionally, so that really is a driving force for transformation and gives renewed purpose and value to all the work we're doing, and great opportunities for young people as well in our world to see renewed purpose in their training and their opportunities for the future. So Amir, thank you very much indeed, and we wish you well taking that forward.
Thank you.
Our final presentation in this section, and then after that we're going to give you the opportunity just to break into completely random groups to see whether you can make a connection and have a conversation around the topic of Nordic circular economy potential. Our last presentation, though, comes from Jutta Forsgren, who's Research and Development Manager at Stena Recycling. Good morning to you, Jutta. I know you've been with Stena for, I think, 18 years, and that's given you a great opportunity maybe to reflect as to some of the key actions that are perhaps needed if we are really going to enable everybody and business particularly to effectively move into the new paradigm. So I'm going to give the floor to you to offer some of those thoughts about the challenges we face, but more particularly maybe some of the solutions that will allow for faster and more effective collaboration and change. So Jutta, great to have you with us, and over to you.
Thank you, Peter. Yes, first I would like to congratulate you all to attend this conference and also to focus on areas which are important for the future. Because we handle the resources not very efficiently at the moment. Yes, now we can see the presentation. I have focused on a few areas. And as you know, we are not handling the resources very efficiently today, but sooner or later everything becomes waste, and that is you need to address when you design products, for instance. The second area is that zero does not exist. Nothing in nature is 100%. It's also an equilibrium, which means that you can find everything everywhere if you look for it good enough. And the third area that I would go into is a thing that influences the possibilities for a circular economy, and that is we all classify products and materials from the hazard, but we should use risk instead. If we try to summarize how we use material today, only less than 5% of the value is left when a product becomes waste, and that is of course not sustainable. And we use the products very inefficiently. Most of them, they are stored or are not used at all. So less than 1% of the product's lifetime it is used. And then we have the unsustainable way of consuming. Someone always pays for low-cost products, either the environment, health and safety, or government subsidies. But it's very difficult to say no to a good bargain. So we often buy things that we realize this is not sustainable, but if we get it for a low price, we buy it anyhow. Very short about the Stena Recycling Group. we recycle about 6 million tons and are located in a number of different locations, mainly the northern parts of Europe. The recycling process is about the same, independent what type of complex product we are handling. First, you need to separate the different materials, for instance, in a car or electronic waste. And then you have to identify it one way or the other, what type of material it is. And then you need to sort it. And none of those processes are 100%. You can never do all of these processes 90%, which means that you will always get some contaminants in all the fractions that you get. But it's very difficult to accept that this is the case for a lot of the materials that we handle in society. But of course, it's very important to do this if you would like to go into a more circular economy. Everything sooner or later becomes waste. The EU definition of waste is very unique. We have a unique compared to all other parts of the world because value is not a part of the definition. So it's more how to protect ourselves and the environment from the impact of waste. So this is what it says in the Waste Framework Directive. What is required when waste is managed one way or the other. And you that are very involved in this area, do you see something that is missing in this requirement? Nothing is said about how to handle the value. It could have been said that you should not downgrade material, you should use the resources more efficiently, but it's all focused on the precautionary principle, that the waste is something bad and you should protect yourself and the environment from the impact of the waste. And to be able to go into more circular situation, this needs to be changed. From the legislation perspective, for instance, in Sweden, we don't have end of waste criteria because that has not been a priority. There are other countries that have gone much further than we have to have criteria when the waste ceases to be waste. And we have waste legislation in the Waste Framework Directive, and we have chemical legislation which comes related to how you classify waste mainly. But REACH, which is only covering product, not waste, there are a lot of requirements on traceability and how to produce different and to quantify different parameters, which means that there is a lack of transparency between those different legislation. And to be able to be more circular, those limitations has to be overcome. Second law of thermodynamics says that nature strives for maximum disorder, to simplify it. And the next you see how many atoms there is in 1 gram of a material. And if you also include that all the analytical instruments and procedures, you can now detect very low concentrations of all, both inorganic and organic compounds, which means that it's now not possible anymore to say it does not contain or is free from if we are into a more circular economy. And this is, I think, is one of the big challenges to avoid backlash from journalists saying that this contains that and this should not be there, and still be able to use it. And it should be more related to the characteristics, not the origin of the raw material that we use in our product. One example, for plastics in electronics that are in contact with high temperature applications, like in a printer or a copy machine. A number of years back, brominated flame retardant was used, and it was 15% of this brominated flame retardant. And today, a lot of them has been recycled or also incinerated to avoid the brominated flame. But you still have it in about 20% of the plastics in contact with high temperature application. And to reach 10 ppm, for instance, you have to have a sorting accuracy to be better than 99.97. And that is not possible today, which means that you have to accept that you can detect brominated flame retardants in plastics that you use for application. It should, of course, not be used in toys, for instance, but in other applications in society. And the characteristics of DKBDE is that it's not soluble in water, it's solid at room temperature, and it has a very high melting temperature. So the risk of the exposure is low if you handle it in a correct way. Some takeaways. I think you all know that everything except perhaps for jewelries becomes waste in the end. And that should influence the design of product. Repairability and all those things already been said in this conference is, of course, very important. Many present, what we call safe chemicals, will be classified. If I look back to 30 years I've been involved in this, in the recycling business, then it was PCBs, pesticides, cadmium, mercury. Now it's PFOS, lead, additives in plastics. And if we look a further 30 years ahead from now, I think we will classify even more, which is not classified today. And the big challenge, I think, is we need to convince society that zero does not exist. We need to calculate the risk of using both virgin and recycled materials in our new products. Thank you much for your attention.
Krista, thank you very much. It's really timely just to take a step back and think a little bit about the big picture of what we're trying to achieve, what we can achieve, and some of the priorities and choices that we need to make. So thank you so much for that. We hope that our delegates listening in, you've found a very interesting range of presentations, really looking at how we are fueling the circular economy potential through Nordic interventions. What is clear that's come out from most of the presentations is the need for connection, collaboration, networking. Boy, that's less easy to do in these COVID days, though we hope that things will get better shortly. But what we'd like to do is give an opportunity in this conference for you randomly to connect with 4 or 5 other people. It could be that moment where you make a connection that helps support the work you're doing or gives you a new insight into the world moving forwards. And so what we're going to do is invite you to go into random breakout groups just for about 15 minutes, to just say hi to each other, take the risk, it's going to be well worthwhile, but also maybe to reflect on some of the talks that we've heard, but also your sense about how we continue developing that Nordic circular economy potential. So if you would like to go back into the agenda for day 2, and have a look down to where the link into the breakouts is and push on that, you will amazingly find yourself in an extraordinary space with some very interesting people. Just have about 15 minutes there, and then we'll come back to plenary because I'd just like to get 1 or 2 key messages from our speakers. So if you go now into the random breakouts, good luck, and we'll see you back in about 15 minutes time. Okay, so welcome back to those of you who found your way back to the plenary from the breakout sessions. We hope you had an opportunity to just say hi to some random people who are all sharing that journey towards circularity. And we're almost at the end of this session, but I just wanted to take a moment. We had some really fascinating presentations this morning, all looking at different aspects of how we are gearing up, particularly within the Nordic bloc, to be gearing up for that circular economy potential. And as I said right at the start of this session, this is Earth Day. This is also a moment where there's a global summit with, we hope, some really challenging and exciting targets related to CO2 reduction, just one aspect of why we are moving towards circularity. And I really just wanted to come back to our presenters. You gave great presentations on specific aspects of work that you're involved with. But I just wondered, at this circular materials conference, populated by people who are applied people, trying to work out solutions, trying to get them adopted within business. If you just had a final message to this wonderful cohort of people trying to be part of the change, I just wondered what that message, either specifically from the work that you're doing, or maybe your broader sense of what is needed in taking us forward, particularly as we are trying to emphasize Nordic leadership, actually drawing the rest of the world forwards on this agenda. I wonder what message you'd like to leave, that worm leaving in our ears as we go towards the break and the rest of the conference. So I'm going to be democratic here, and would someone like to offer a first intervention?
I can say something.
Yeah, Elin.
No, I think this is fantastic, and I really think the Nordics can take the lead. But at the same time, we need to be truthful and know that Sweden is also topping the list of overshoot day on where to. I mean, we're consuming way more than everybody else on the planet, so we need to also be truthful on how we do things right now. But I still think we can take the lead, and I think collaboration and knowledge sharing to really create these material markets for circular economy and accelerating it is key here. So that's, I guess, my message for this Earth Day.
Thank you very much. And it's an amazing paradox that we represent the very best and worst in terms of brilliance of imagination and thought, and worst of consumption. So that's something to think about. Thank you for that. I wonder, Josefina, you're in Chalmers at the moment. Do you have a message to the conference?
No, I think that, I can actually relate a bit to being at Chalmers, and then also what Amir was speaking about, that one key thing in this transition is the educational sector, and that we can't continue to train people for a linear economy in any type of business, if it's design, economy, technology, whatever it is. It has to, we have to from the start, having people that come into work life and that understands and have the glasses of a circular economy on them. So I think that will be my key takeaway actually here in this.
Great, thank you very much. Jutta, I wonder whether you'd like to offer a thought.
Yeah, I'd like to. I agree with what my co-speakers or fellow speakers have said. I think it's very necessary to start also looking into consumption and to start consuming also products that have been used by somebody else before, and to get over this initial, I would like to have something that's new and that's exactly done, provided for me, and taking the consumers with us. That's an important way forward. We can recycle as much as we want, but if nobody wants to use the materials then afterwards, then we still haven't won anything.
Yeah, and boy, have we got some way to go in making those connections. So thank you for that. And I wonder, Guro, whether you'd like to offer a message with that wonderful color chart behind, which I assume is that the action plan of the 2030 agenda, or just a very nice piece of artwork?
That's so smart. I think the important thing, and what we have seen for the last years, actually, that collaboration, working together, has shown to be very fruitful. Together with Stena, here a co-speaker as well, we have managed to start looking into reuse and component harvesting, and doing that so much more than we did 10 years ago, 15 years ago when I started in the business. And I think that the Nordics, with this little market, small market that we actually have, it's indeed important to collaborate. So that's my thing, work together.
Right. And finally, Krista.
I fully agree. Cooperation. I think we have better conditions for corporations than all other parts of Europe, really, because it's a more open society, both between companies and towards academia. And I don't think we should forget two other areas. That's the authorities. That we need to cooperate more with the authorities. And when we meet politicians, we should influence them and push for those questions that we think are important.
Right. Okay, well, some powerful messages, and in one sense, some obvious messages, but maybe the obvious messages are the most important ones. And it feels as though we are on the cusp of some really significant expansion in terms of the work we're doing. And although it's against a backcloth of real planetary challenge, it's maybe the most exciting time to be a pioneer, an innovator, a disruptor in this world. So could I thank all our speakers, including Amir, who had to go, for your presentations this morning, really stimulating, and also wish you continued energy and inspiration and success in the spheres that you are pushing forward. So thank you to all our speakers. Thank you also to all our delegates joining us for this first part of the morning. And we're going to break now for 20 minutes, and then there are two parallel breakout sessions that you can choose from. One is do it right from the beginning. So that's the design world. The best material use is less or no use. And a second one, circular treatment of reused electronics and e-waste. So we look forward to seeing you at one of those breakouts after a 20-minute chance for a breath of fresh air and a cup of your chosen beverage. So we'll see you shortly. Thank you very much indeed.